What's up with y'all, man? Scotty Knows back at it, talking hoops. And this time we got college basketball talk. The college basketball season is kind of hitting its peak right now. Obviously, the peak of college basketball is really March Madness time, but right now, since it's conference play, I feel like we're getting a lot of good basketball, especially within this last week or so. Last week we got five freshmen that dropped 30 plus, which has never happened in the history of college, in the history of D1 division basketball before. We had three players drop 40, so that was awesome to witness. And now today, the following Saturday, we have AJ Dybantsa and BYU going up against Kansas and Derin Peterson. I almost said AJ Peterson. Derin Peterson. So yeah, it was pretty much the battle of the number one picks. Very, very highly anticipated matchup, to say the least. Pretty much some of the most talented number one, or these are some of the most talented freshmen that we've seen in college basketball in a long time, or at least probably in forever. So, uh, yeah, this is like the matchup of the year, so to speak. So, yeah, great matchup, and we're just gonna get right into it. So, initial thoughts on this game: uh, Kansas's defense, Duren's first half performance, and just like who comes out as a number one pick after this performance or after this outing. Um, the first thing that to keep in mind, the first thing to keep in mind is who's going to set the tone and who's going to finish the game. It was obvious that Duren Peterson was the one that was the tone setter. He was the one that came out with the fire to him. Like you could look into a player's eyes and see like, okay, this one means something. This one um, is a meaningful matchup to them, or kind of, you kind of just see the way the confidence that a player has walking into the game. You could tell like, okay, this player is here to kill. You definitely got that more from Deron Peterson compared to AJ Dybantsa in this game. I feel like even when they before tip off, when they panned to AJ Dybantsa's face on the screen, you could tell it was kind of big environment being in Kansas. I feel like they have one of the greatest home crowds, so I think that was probably a little bit of a factor. But more so, Deron Peterson, I feel like he thrives off of these moments of just being in high stakes, or not even high stakes, but more so just like understanding like who's on the other side and understanding um, the importance of this type of this game to the outside fans, or to basketball in general. So definitely the first thing that you think about, especially when deciding who's the number one pick, who's going number one, who's setting the tone, and who's going to bring that fire, who's going to bring that kind of like not back down mentality, who's going to try to bring that fire early. And Deron Peterson did exactly that. Um, for him, I thought it was impressive how obviously we understand that Deron Peterson can score on all three levels. He's a great, great three-level scorer. He's athletic, quick first step, uh, finish at the basket. He had a nice lefty finish, switching hands in midair, which is in that first half, which was awesome to see. I feel like that was like the smoothest left hand that we've seen from him all year. Uh, Obviously, he has the phenomenal shooting ability with or without the ball. But that's just it. It's the ability to play without the ball, um, even if he's being denied the ball. And I feel like for AJ Dybantsa, that was kind of the problem in the first half. I feel like Kansas's defense wasn't so much about suffocation. It was more about just denying the ball to AJ. So just take the ball out of his hand. Taking the ball out of his hands is kind of what you just wanted to do, pretty much. That was the most effective way to guard BYU. That was the most effective way to guard AJ Dybantsa. You don't want him. How he gets the majority of his points is by playing in the post, getting to a spot in the mid range, or just attacking the lane, getting a paint touch, and just getting to the hoop and finishing at the basket or drawing a foul. Uh, they played extremely disciplined defense individually. Kansas did, and they did a great job of course, of not allowing him to really like just draw fouls easily. That's where the discipline comes in, I guess. So uh, every time they played defense on him and played and tried to play physical, they showed their hands. They guard with their body, not with their arms or their hands. That's how you draw fouls that way. So um, They did a great job with like this the individual discipline on defense was phenomenal. I thought, uh, and even better, the deniability from them was awesome. I feel like when he's in the post calling for the ball, as soon as he catches that ball, it's a double team. He's forced to kick it back out, and unfortunately, his teammates weren't able to. In that first half specifically, knock down those 3 pointers because he had a couple of nice passes, made a couple of good decisions in the half court where he got the ball and then he dishes it back out to one of his teammates, and they just kind of clank a three. You can't really control. You can control what you can control, right? So just every time he was calling the ball in the post, immediate double team comes, he's forced to kick it out. His teammates were unable to knock down those kick out, those spray out threes. Uh, AJ Dybantsa did a good job with his decision making when it came to that. When it came to the double teams, I would say there was one time in that first half where I feel like he could have just been a little bit more patient with the double team and just hit that little dump down pass to the big, and they would have had a wide open dunk. But I feel like he did a good job with that. I think it's just more of his teammates' inability to hit those shots in that first half on those kickouts and whatnot. So control what you can control, right? But I think the way Kansas game plan against AJ was just to deny the ball. Don't let him touch the ball. Limit those touches as much as possible because it takes him out of rhythm, and that's just kind of how he plays. The difference is with Dybantsa Peterson, he could play with or without the ball very nicely. Without the ball, he could be someone that causes gravity and attention. With the ball, again, blow by ability, first step, get to the basket, create for himself. Uh, Kind of reminds me personally of a Donovan Mitchell type of player, but just I think even more lethal off the ball and maybe more willing to play without the ball. But when I look at the way he plays and the way he could just kind of be such a jolt of scoring and just creation for a team, it reminds me of Donovan Mitchell a little bit, like a larger, like a 6'5" version of Donovan Mitchell. That's honestly that's probably better without the ball, or just like a bit more willing to play without the ball in his hands. Um, so, and then of course for Dorian Peterson defensively as well. The main thing in this game is that AJ Dybantsa couldn't get in rhythm, couldn't really find himself in that first half. He went the first 10 minutes without a bucket. He shot shots. He had 2 field goals, 0 for 2, no points in the first 10 minutes of the game. Of course, Kansas's defense is more capable of guarding a player like AJ Dybantsa than BYU was capable of guarding a player like Dorian Peterson. But the difference is when you look at Dorian Peterson, he still finds a way. He still figures out how to be productive and make an impact, and still figures out ways to get the ball in his hands when he needs to, or just to. He figures out how to score still, and he just figures things out a little bit more compared to a AJ Dybantsa. Defensively, when you look at what Peterson did with his instincts and just positioning on defense, especially on AJ, uh, that mattered. It wasn't just like, okay, if they're going to deny me the ball, I can't really do anything. I'm still going to make an impact on defense. I'm going to turn my defense into offense. I'm going to get in transition. I'm going to get those poke out steals. I'm going to be in the passing lanes. I'm going to keep my arms and my hands active, keep my hands up, deny the ball. It's those little things. So it's not just him being a extremely efficient 3 level scorer. It's also him doing the small things, the little things, those slight things that matter to winning. Um, and all in all, moving forward to the second half, obviously Peterson didn't really play in the second half. I think he played the first couple minutes. If I'm correct? I'm not sure. That is a little bit frustrating. I guess as someone that understands basketball, you want to just stay patient and be a little bit understanding of like, okay, obviously he wants to play. The fact that he's willing to play out here, even with cramping or a hurt hamstring or whatever it is still impressive and it's still respectable. But at the same time, when you see BYU kind of creeping back into the game like they have all season, they're kind of like the comeback kids of the college basketball season right now. That was a little bit scary. So it's kind of like, okay, wouldn't you want to just put him back in for those last 5 minutes? Wasn't sure if that was going to happen. Obviously, it didn't happen, but they ended up with the win at the end of the day. But I trust that Duran Peterson does want to be out there as much as possible, and he does want to play for Kansas. Um, AJ Dybantsa had a much better second half, started to get in rhythm, started to have the ball in his hands more, to be honest with you. Um, saw a couple uh, saw a couple buckets go through the hoop, right? All you need is one ball to go right through the hoop, and you kind of gain that confidence to score and get in your groove again. So AJ Dybantsa, not a bad game. It's just the way Kansas defended them in those first 15 minutes of the game and the way they were able to deny him the ball and take him out of rhythm early or just stop him from getting into any type of rhythm kind of affected him. And then Peterson's um, start to the game and the fire that he brought and the confidence and like the you just felt sure that like, okay, we're gonna get this win, we're gonna perform well, I'm gonna perform well against another top five talent in AJ Dybantsa, right? You felt sure. So again, when it comes to the number one pick, the main thing that I try to look at, of course, because these are both very talented 3 level scoring guards and wings, right? That have all the talent and the skill in the world to be a number one pick. But the main thing that you look at is kind of who's going to set the tone in the beginning of the game and who's going to finish the game properly. Uh, Obviously, Duran Peterson didn't really play in that second half, but when you look at who began the game and set that tone, who had that fire in their eyes in the beginning of at tip off, it was Duran Peterson. I feel like that's the difference compared to AJ Dybantsa. Not saying that AJ Dybantsa doesn't have that fire or that that will to be a number one pick, that leadership, right? But it's more so, it's kind of like a certain vibe that you get from a certain player to where it's like you just feel comfortable um, giving it to that player and allowing him to take you to that promised land, if you know what I mean. So uh, the most important thing is just like how you start and how you finish. And I feel like the way uh, Peterson started this game was just like as perfect as could be. Like A plus first half. Um, Honestly, kind of flawless. There wasn't one decision or execution that I thought was poor. And if it was, I think he missed like one open three in that first half, and that's not like that's not like him making a bad decision or not executing right. That's just him missing a shot. So pretty much a flawless A plus first half for Peterson. Um, Asa Dybantsa showed some good things as well. He showed his ability to still play basketball a little bit, even when he's being denied the scoring opportunities. I think it just took a while for him just to get in the groove, unfortunately. So yeah, that's pretty much the game. That was BYU at Kansas. One more thing, just to mention. Richie Saunders had his career high of 33 points as well. So that was also great to see. He kind of led that comeback for BYU. They didn't end up with a win, but just wanted to mention Richie Saunders' name just because he can really shoot the ball, and and even on the broadcast they were talking about him possibly being a NBA prospect or being in the NBA at some point in his career. So great game for Richie Saunders. BYU just has this knack of coming back, right? They're kind of like the comeback kids. They in the second half they could really just like they just turn up that shooting. That offense just turns up, and the defense really turns up a little bit as well. And that's one more. Before I go, that's one more thing as well. A lot of the times when you're down with a deficit or getting blown out, and you're just struggling to score because the opposing team is just really playing awesome defense against you, you kind of have to fight fire with fire instead of like figuring out ways uh to draw up offense and try to like get past that defense. Just play better defense than they're playing their defense, if that makes sense. That's a terrible sentence, but fight fire with fire. If they're clamping you up on defense and you're struggling to get past that defense, then you just have to play defense yourself and turn your defense into offense. Try to get into transition. Try to force turnovers, right? Get those simple buckets. So you playing great defense yourself will allow you to get that offense jump started a little bit. So it's not always about cracking the code against that certain defense, against Kansas's defense. Sometimes it's just about like, hey, in the second half, we're going to come out, uh, play great defense as well, and then turn our defense into offense, and then that's how we're going to get in rhythm and gain confidence to win the game. So I feel like that's a little bit of what BYU did by a little bit. Um, but also they just like in the second half of games sometimes they just catch fire from three. They just have a lot of guys that can knock down shots. Asia Dybantsa had a good second half. But yeah, Richie Saunders when he's 6 for 14 from three, 11 for 19 from the field, 33 points career high. Um, the shooting that they have in the second half is just kind of deadly. It's crazy. So, but that shows you how impressive the Jayhawks are, right? That shows you how Kansas, if they have Dybantsa Peterson healthy for the rest of the season and actually finishing games, they could possibly be an Elite Eight or Final Four team uh, in March. So yeah, but I'm done talking. That is BYU at Kansas. Great game. Um, uh, Great second half. Well, great game. Great first half for Peterson. Um, and an interesting and edge of your seat second half as well. So, but pretty good game. I wish AJ Dybantsa would have had a better first half, but even then, just the battle that the performance that Peterson had in that first half, and of course, um, the fact that the Cougars were able to make this somewhat of a game in the second half and kind of come back and put us at the edge of our seat a little bit. That was nice. So good game. Great matchup. Right now, the number one pick, I think, for everybody right now is Dybantsa Peterson. I have to agree with that. If you still think it's AJ Dybantsa, that's fine as well. I think when it comes to AJ Dybantsa, Peterson, Boozer, you can't really go wrong necessarily. You're going to get a very, very good player. I just feel like if you're going to make an argument over Peterson, you're just going to lose it just because how can you really argue against a player that just had this type of performance in a single half? Um, so it's kind of hard to argue. And I just feel like Peterson is just on another tick, on another tier compared to AJ Dybantsa and Cameron Boozer as well. So it's just hard to argue right now after he puts up that type of cannot talk. It's just kind of hard to argue right now when a player like Peterson puts up that type of performance, you know. So, uh, yeah, but awesome game. Again, I'm Scotty Knows. The number one pick is Dybantsa Peterson for sure. As of right now, I don't think AJ Dybantsa could really do anything to turn that around at this point, personally, unless he really starts to put up some ridiculous numbers and performances for the rest of the season. I feel like this is going to kind of stamp that uh, for Peterson as a number one pick. But again, all three of the players are phenomenal players that are worthy of the number one pick. It just happens that like Peterson might just be on another tier, another level. So again, I'm Scotty Knows. Thank y'all for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'm out.